It started with coffee. Then he said, stage 4. No time left. I froze. I should have left. Instead, I started planning a life that would. I wasn't supposed to remember him. He walked into the open house like everyone else, slow, quiet, hands in his coat pockets, looking around like he already understood the place without asking questions. I gave my usual line and let him be. He didn't act like a buyer. He didn't act like anything I could categorize. I'm not here to buy, he said. That should have ended it. I had bills stacking up, rent late, numbers I was avoiding. I didn't have time for people who weren't serious. Just looking. I asked. Something like that. His name was Trentwood. Late 50s. Calm voice. No wasted words. He didn't ask about price. He asked about the neighborhood. How long people stayed. Whether homes here actually felt like home. He stayed longer than anyone else that day. Then he left. Next weekend, he came back. Same time. Same quiet presence. This time we talked. Not about work. About the city, the pace, things that didn't feel like small talk. Before he left, he said, there's a coffee place nearby. You go there. Sometimes. Go with me tomorrow. I should have said no. I didn't know him. He wasn't a client. But I didn't have anything waiting for me except stress and overdue notices. So I said yes. The next morning, we sat across from each other in a small coffee shop in Simi Valley. He ordered black coffee. I ordered something I didn't need. It felt normal at first. Easy. Then the conversation slowed. I should tell you something, he said. I nodded. Okay. I'm sick. I waited. Stage 4. Everything stopped. How long? I asked. Months. Maybe less. No hesitation. No softening it. I didn't tell you to scare you, he said. I just don't see a reason to pretend. That's honest, I said. That's all I have time for. Silence sat between us. I should have ended it there. Instead, I asked, why tell me? Because I don't do casual. You don't even know me. I know enough. That should have been my exit. It wasn't. We finished coffee. He walked me to my car like it was normal. I'd like to see you again, he said. Everything in my head said this was a bad idea. But another part of me saw something simpler. No games. No pretending. A timeline that was already defined. I'm busy this week, I said. Next week then. I nodded. Okay. That was the moment things shifted. Not when he said he was dying. When I chose to stay anyway. After that, it became routine. We saw each other again. Then again. Dinners, short drives, quiet conversations. He didn't try to impress me. He paid attention. You're tired, he said one night. I work a lot. That's not what I meant. He was right. A few days later, he asked, are you okay? Yeah. He didn't push. That made it worse. I started telling him things I didn't plan to. Work falling apart. Deals not closing. How I was fine when I wasn't. He didn't judge. Didn't fix anything. Sounds exhausting, he said. It was. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I had to pretend it wasn't. That's when I noticed the other side of his life. The quiet money. No flashy signs. Just details. The watch. The way he talked about properties. The fact that nothing seemed urgent to him. Stability. The kind I didn't have. I told myself it didn't matter. But I noticed it. Every time. A week later, he asked me to come over. I expected nice. It was more than that. Big house in Simi Valley. Clean. Quiet. Expensive without trying to prove it. Do you live here alone? I asked. Yes. No photos. No clutter. Just space. It didn't feel empty. It felt finished. We sat down. Talked. Same as before. But this time, it felt closer. More real. Like something was moving forward. And I knew exactly where it was going. I just didn't stop it. I knew exactly where it was going. I just didn't stop it. We didn't label anything. We didn't need to. He started building space for me in his life without asking, and I stepped into it without questioning. Stay for dinner, he said one night. It wasn't romantic. No candles, no music. Just simple food, quiet conversation. But it felt stable. Like something I hadn't had in a long time. After that, I started staying longer. Then later. Then sometimes overnight. He never made it a big deal. Never pushed. Never rushed anything. But everything kept moving forward anyway. A week later, he said it. I don't have time to waste. I looked at him. On what? Things that don't matter. That should have been a warning. Instead, it felt like clarity. Because for once, I knew exactly what I was walking into. No guessing. No waiting around to see where things went. There was an ending. Already set. And somehow, that made everything feel easier. I started organizing things for him without being asked. Appointments. Paperwork. Calls he didn't want to take. You don't have to do that, he said. I know. But I kept doing it. Because it made me feel needed. And I won't lie, that mattered more than I expected. You're good at this, he said once, watching me sort through a stack of documents. At what? making things feel under control. I almost laughed. If he knew how out of control my own life was, he wouldn't say that. But I didn't tell him that. Not everything. I still had my own place. Small, cramped, overdue on rent. Every time I went back there, it felt like stepping into a version of my life that didn't match the one I was slowly building with him. I started staying at his place more often. At first, I told myself it was temporary. Just easier with his appointments, his schedule. But the truth was simpler. It felt better there. Safer. Quieter. One night, we were sitting in his living room. No TV, no distractions. Just silence. I don't want to do this alone, he said. I didn't ask what he meant. I already knew. He looked at me, steady, direct. I don't want to die alone. There it was. Not dramatic. Not emotional. Just honest. I felt it settle in my chest, heavy and clear. This was the moment. The choice. I could step back. Keep things where they were. Walk away before it went further. Or stay, and accept everything that came with it. Including the end. I'm here, I said. It wasn't a promise. But it sounded like one. After that, everything changed. Not immediately. Not all at once. But the line was crossed. I started moving things into his place. Small things at first. Clothes. Toiletries. Then more. He didn't comment on it. He didn't need to. You can stay, he said one morning, like it was the most normal thing in the world. I already am. He smiled at that. And for a second, everything felt simple. But it wasn't. Because the more time I spent there, the more I noticed things I hadn't before. The medication. The schedule. The way he moved slower some days. The way he paused before standing up, like his body needed a second to catch up. You okay? I asked once. I'm fine. He said it easily. But I was starting to see the truth behind it. This wasn't abstract anymore. This wasn't something happening eventually. It was happening. Right in front of me. And I stayed. That's the part one keep coming back to. I stayed. Even when it became real. Even when it stopped being something I could ignore. Because by then, it wasn't just about him. It was about what this gave me. Stability. A break from the constant pressure of my own life falling apart. A place where things felt controlled, even if it was temporary. And I knew that. I wasn't blind to it. I just didn't stop. A few weeks later, he said, you should meet my kids. That hit differently. I didn't respond right away. You don't have to, he added. But they should know. Know what? That I was here? That I wasn't leaving? Or that I was part of something they hadn't agreed to? When? I asked. Soon. I nodded. But something shifted in me. Because up until that point, this had been contained. Just us. Now it was about to become real to other people. People who had history with him. People who had a right to question me. And I knew they would. I just didn't know how far they'd go. A few days later, I asked, what are they like? He didn't answer immediately. Direct, he said finally. That told me enough. That night, I lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about what was coming. About the questions. The looks. The assumptions. And the truth I couldn't fully deny. Because no matter how much I told myself I cared about him, there was still a part of me that knew exactly what this situation was. And exactly how it would end. And I was still here. Still choosing it. Still moving forward. Even when I knew what it made me look like. Even when I knew what it might actually make me. And I didn't stop. I didn't stop. Even when I knew what it would look like. I met them on a Sunday. He said, come by around 6. No build-up. No warning. I stood in his kitchen 5 minutes early, staring at my reflection in the dark window, adjusting nothing. There was nothing to fix. You don't have to prove anything, he said. I'm not trying to. He nodded like he didn't believe me. The door opened. Voices. Then footsteps. First was Bree Vale. Late 20s. Clean, controlled, eyes that scanned the room before they landed on me. Then Seth Vale, a few years older, slower steps, direct stare. This is Tess, Trent said. Bree shook my hand, light grip, no smile. Hi. Seth didn't offer his hand. You're the one from the open house. Yeah. He looked at Trent. That was quick. It wasn't like that, Trent said. Seth didn't argue. He just sat down like the answer didn't matter. Dinner was quiet. Plates, forks, small talk that wasn't really talk. So, what do you do? Bree asked. I'm a planner. She nodded. Busy? Sometimes. Seth leaned back. Convenient. I looked at him. What is? Timing. Trent said, Seth. It's fine, I said. Because it was. It was exactly what I expected. Bree watched me the whole time. Not hostile. Just measuring. After dinner, Trent went to take a call. It was just me and them in the kitchen. Bree spoke first. How long have you known him? A few months. That's fast. Yeah. Seth stepped closer to the counter. You know he's sick. I know. And you're still here. Yes. He held my eyes. Why? There it was. No way around it. Because I want to be, I said. He laughed once. Short. That's not an answer. It's the only one I'm giving. Bree said nothing. She just watched. Seth shook his head. You think we don't see this? See what? He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Bree finally spoke. We're not stupid. I didn't say you were. She leaned forward slightly. Then don't treat us like we are. Trent walked back in before it went further. Everything okay? He asked. Fine, I said. Seth smiled without humor. Yeah, we're good. They didn't stay long after that. At the door, Bree said, take care of him. I will. Seth didn't say goodbye. When the door closed, the house felt quieter than usual. They'll come around, Trent said. Maybe. He studied my face. You don't have to deal with that. I know. But I wasn't leaving. That night, I couldn't sleep. Their words didn't bother me as much as the fact that they weren't wrong. Not completely. The next morning, Trent was already up, going through papers at the kitchen table. What are those? I asked. Accounts. Properties. Just organizing. For what? He didn't look up. For later. I stepped closer. Numbers, documents, folders labeled in a way that made everything look final. You don't have to do this now, I said. I do. I didn't argue. I sat across from him. Do you want help? He looked at me. You would do that? Yes. He nodded. Okay. That was the moment things shifted again. From being there to being involved. I started helping him organize everything. Files, accounts, schedules. Calls to set up meetings. It felt like work, but more than that, it felt like control. Like we were preparing something instead of waiting for it. A few days later, he said, we should talk to Quint. Your attorney? Yes. I already knew what that meant. Okay. The office was quiet. Clean. Quint Page didn't waste time. Mr. Wood wants to review his estate plan, he said, looking between us. Trent nodded. I want to make some changes. Quint didn't react. What kind of changes? Trent looked at me for a second. Then back at Quint. I want to make sure Tess is taken care of. The room felt smaller. Quint asked questions. Clear. Direct. No emotion. Assets. Accounts. Property. Trent answered everything without hesitation. I didn't interrupt. I didn't say, you don't have to do that. I didn't say anything. Quint finally looked at me. Are you comfortable with this? The right answer was probably no. Or at least something softer. I'm here, I said. He nodded like that was enough. When we left, the air felt heavier. You didn't have to stay quiet, Trent said. I wasn't going to argue with you in there. You could have. I didn't want to. He stopped walking for a second. I mean it. I want you secure. I know. And I did. That was the problem. Because by then, it wasn't just about him anymore. It was about what this would become after he was gone. And I was part of that now. Not on the outside. Not just someone passing through. Inside it. Legally. Completely. A week later, Seth showed up unannounced. I opened the door. We need to talk, he said. About what? You know exactly what. Trent stepped into the hallway behind me. Seth. He walked in anyway. You're changing things, Seth said. Trent didn't deny it. That's not your decision to question, Trent said. It is when it affects us. Bree wasn't there. This was different. More direct. Seth looked at me. You're really going to stand there and act like this isn't exactly what it looks like? I didn't answer. Because I didn't have one that would change anything. Trent said enough. Seth shook his head. You think this ends well? Trent didn't respond. Seth looked at me one more time. This isn't over. Then he left. The door shut. Silence again. I stood there, feeling it settle. The tension. The lines being drawn. This is going to get worse, I said. Yes. And you're still doing it. Yes. I nodded. Because so was I. I was still here. Still choosing this. Even now. Even with everything starting to close in. And I didn't stop. I didn't stop. Even when it got harder to pretend this was simple. After Seth showed up, things shifted again. Not louder, just tighter. Like everything had edges now. Trent moved slower. Not all the time, but enough that I noticed. Getting up from the couch took a second longer. Stairs became something he avoided unless he had to. You okay? I asked. I'm fine. He always said it the same way. Calm. Final. But I started keeping track. The medication times. The appointments. The days he didn't finish his food. I stopped going back to my apartment entirely. It didn't feel like mine anymore. One morning, I went there to grab the last of my things. The place looked smaller than I remembered. Colder. I stood in the doorway for a minute, realizing I didn't feel anything leaving it behind. No attachment. No hesitation. Just relief. By the time I got back to his house, it already felt like I had been gone too long. You're back, he said. Yeah, good. That was it. But it mattered. A week later, he said, we should make this official. I knew what he meant. You're sure? I asked. Yes. You've thought about it. I don't have time not to. That line again. I nodded. Okay. There was no big proposal. No ring moment. Just paperwork, signatures, a quiet process that felt more real than anything dramatic could have. Quint handled everything. Clean, efficient. Do you understand the implications? He asked me. Yes. You're comfortable proceeding? Yes. Trent didn't hesitate. Neither did I. A few days later, it was done. I became Tess Wood. No celebration. No announcement. But it didn't stay quiet for long. Bree found out first. She called Trent. I heard her through the speaker, voice tight. You got married? Yes. When were you going to tell us? I'm telling you now. That's not the same. It's done. Silence. Then we need to talk. Not today. She hung up. That night, I didn't sleep much. It wasn't guilt. Not exactly. It was the feeling that something had locked into place. That there was no going back to anything simpler than this. The next day, they both came over. No warning this time. Bree walked in first. No hesitation. You married her, she said. Yes. Seth stood behind her, arms crossed. Unbelievable. Trent stayed calm. It's my decision. It affects us, Bree said. It doesn't change what you have. You don't know that. Quint's paperwork said otherwise. But I knew what she meant. This wasn't just about money. It was about control. About being replaced. Bree looked at me. You really went through with it. Yes. Why? Same question. Different tone. Because I chose to, I said. She shook her head. That's not an answer. It's the only one I'm giving. Seth stepped forward. You moved fast. So did you, I said. He paused. Not expecting that. Excuse me. You showed up here the moment you thought something was changing. His jaw tightened. That's our father. And this is my husband. That landed. Not loud, but solid. Trent said enough. Bree looked between us. This is a mistake. That's your opinion, Trent said. No, it's reality. Then we'll live with it. She held his gaze for a second longer, then turned. This isn't over, she said. Seth followed her out. The door shut. Again, silence. You didn't have to say that, Trent told me. I meant it. He nodded. And for a moment, everything felt steady again. But it didn't last. The decline wasn't sudden. It was gradual. Quiet. Hard to measure until you stepped back and realized how much had changed. He stopped going out as much. Appointments became closer together. The house got quieter. I started handling everything. Calls. Documents. Schedules. You don't have to do all this, he said. I know. But I did it anyway. Because it made me feel like I had control over something that couldn't be controlled. One night, he didn't finish dinner. You're not hungry? I asked. Just tired. He pushed the plate away. I didn't push. Later, I found him sitting in the living room, staring at nothing. You okay? He nodded. Just thinking. About what? He didn't answer right away. After, he said. I sat next to him. It's handled, I said. I know. I'll take care of things. He looked at me then. Really looked. I know you will. That should have felt like reassurance. It didn't. It felt like responsibility. A few days later, we went back to Quint. Final reviews. Signatures. Confirmations. Everything was clear. Documented. Legal. No room for interpretation. You understand these changes are binding, Quint said. One morning, I found him sitting at the kitchen table, staring at nothing. You didn't sleep, I said. A little. You should go back to bed. In a minute. He didn't move. I stood there for a second, then sat across from him. You okay? I asked. He nodded. But his hand was shaking slightly on the table. I reached over and held it. He didn't pull away. That was new. A few days later, he couldn't make it up the stairs. We moved everything downstairs. Temporary, I told myself. It wasn't. Hugh Lane came by more often. Less talking, more checking. Short answers. How is he? I asked one afternoon. Hugh paused. He's comfortable. That wasn't an answer. But it was the only one I was going to get. The house got quieter after that. No TV. No music. Just the sound of movement, then less of it. One night, he said, stay. I'm here. No. Stay right here. I sat beside him on the couch. He leaned back, eyes closed. I didn't think it would feel like this, he said. Like what? Like I'm already gone. I didn't know what to say. So I didn't say anything. I just stayed. A few days later, he didn't wake up at his usual time. I knew before I checked. I still checked. I stood there for a second, waiting for something to change. It didn't. It was quiet. No drama. No final words. Just done. I called it in. Everything after that moved fast. People came. Then more people. And then it got loud. Bree and Seth arrived that afternoon. Bree didn't cry. Seth barely looked at me. This isn't right, he said. It's done, I answered. Not yet. That was the first time I heard it. The shift. From grief to conflict. The next week was meetings. Lawyers. Documents. Questions. Ray Snow led everything for them. Direct. Sharp. You were involved in recent changes to the estate, she said. Yes. You benefited from those changes. Yes. And you expect us to believe there was no influence. I didn't force anything. That's not what I asked. Quinn sat beside me, calm. Everything was reviewed and signed under clear conditions, he said. There's no ambiguity. Ray didn't smile. We'll see. They pushed everything. The marriage. The timing. My presence in every decision. Seth spoke once during a meeting. You showed up and suddenly everything changed. I looked at him. He made his choices. You helped him make them. I didn't stop him. That's the same thing. Maybe it was. But legally, it wasn't. Weeks passed. Nothing broke. Every document held. Every signature stood. Every challenge failed. And then it ended. Just like that. No announcement. No final confrontation. Just silence. They stopped calling. Stopped showing up. Stopped trying. I stayed. The house stayed quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel peaceful. Just empty. I handled everything. Accounts, property, all of it. Exactly like he said I would. Exactly like I told him I could. And I did it well. That's the part no one sees. Not the fight. Not the accusations. Just the after. The stillness. The fact that everything worked exactly the way it was set up to. I don't worry about money anymore. I don't check balances before I buy something. I don't feel that constant pressure sitting on my chest. That part is gone. But sometimes I sit in the living room at night, and it feels like the house is too big. Too quiet. Like something is missing that I can't name. I think about that first coffee. About the moment he said it. Stage 4. No time left. And the moment right after that. When I could have stood up. Walked out. Kept my life exactly the way it was. I didn't. I stayed. I built something that had an ending from the beginning. And I knew it. I knew exactly what this would become. What it would look like to everyone else. What it might actually be. I cared about him. That part is real. But I also knew what came after. And I didn't turn away from it. I stepped into it. All the way. So now I sit here, in a house that's mine, living a life that's stable, finally not struggling. And I can't tell if I made the smartest decision of my life. Or the worst one. Because everything worked out. Exactly the way it was supposed to. And I'm the one who made sure of that. So I need to ask this. If you were in my position, knowing how it would end, knowing what you'd gain, and what it might cost, would you have walked away? Or would you have stayed like I did?